and welcome to this podcast. My name is Ness, or Vanessa. This is the podcast for the Cornish Stitcher, which is a small fledgling business that I'm just in the process of setting up. I am a knitter, crocheter. The predominant part of the business is sewn items, but this space here is for me to do a traditional podcast of sharing my love of knitting and crochet mainly. If you're new here, welcome. You can be new together. I'm fairly new to this. Apologies to returning viewers that I haven't had a podcast through the last few weeks. Life just took over. Life with a neurodivergent household of two boys, one which is a teenager and has discovered girls, shall we say, and the whys and wherefores of a relationship have needed navigating. I think we're on a smoother path now, and lots of other things in the background going on. As I say, my name is Ness. I live in Cornwall, in England, in southeast Cornwall. So we're midway between Bodmin and Plymouth. So Plymouth obviously being Devon and Bodmin being Bodmin Moor. It's sort of about a third of the way down into the county. So we live in a small market town on the edge of the moors. I'm not recording in my house today. It's just too busy. So I'm borrowing our neighbour's house they're away at the moment working abroad. So I've just borrowed their house to record the podcast. So this podcast will generally follow the same process as everybody else's. Finished objects, works in progress, new acquisitions, and then any kind of life news going from there. Yes. So my first finished object is it's done, is this scarf. So this is a pattern and yarn by Rosie's Moments. The yarn is in seabed colourway, and the pattern is a shawl for Jos, Jos, but it is Jos. And I started this end of the summer last year, and it's been put away and got out and put away and got out and put away and got out several times, but it's finally finished. So I'll take it off to show you. It's a triangular shawl. It has been blocked, but it could probably do with blocking again, just because I've worn it quite a lot. It's a 16 pattern repeat, with this kind of, I'll show you here, with the kind of eyelet row, stockinette stitch, a couple of rows of garter, and then more stockinette. It was fairly easy. I would say it's quite good for a beginner. I'm a beginner really in terms of knitting. I've only been knitting proficiently without dropping hundreds of stitches, probably about just over sort of 14-15 months. And I picked this up sort of 6 months into the journey. So I would say it's a fairly straightforward pattern. It's just small increases, make one, so knit one into the front, knit one into the back, and then knit two together for the decreases. It kind of grows like this on a bias. I love knitting it. It is knitted in 4-ply, so in comparison to my other finished object, which is in chunky, it seemed to take an age, but I love it. I love the colourway. The colourway is just so perfectly me. I adore the beach, a sea, anything ocean related. So this colourway was spoken to me. I purchased it at the Wonderwall last year festival in Wales, and it came along with, so I purchased the project bag and this came with it, and I just love it. So I have worn it quite a lot in the last couple of weeks since it was finished and since it came off the needles. I knitted it on a circular needle cable, but as straight needles, so it's not knitted in the round, it's knitted as straight needles, but you do need the cable length, because it becomes just unmanageable without the cable length. You wouldn't be able to keep it on straight needles, it's just too long. Yeah, so I absolutely love it. Been out, I've had quite a few compliments when I've worn it out and about, so yeah, it's lovely. We have had here in the UK, particularly in Cornwall, some horrendous weather, but not cold, not particularly cold. So although it's winter, or coming out of winter into the early spring now, it is, we've just had relentless rain. We're joking that we're now living in a rainy season and a dry season, rather than 4 seasons across the year, but it's just been relentless. And so whilst it hasn't been overtly cold, it's been damp cold. So this has been really welcome. Yeah, beach walks and various things. So I absolutely love it. So I'm really pleased. And it's a really kind of proud moment that I did something that was included eyelets and lots of different changes. So I loved it. So yeah. My second finished object, I know, 2 in one go. This is not going to be a regular occurrence given what my whips are. But this is my second finished object, so bear with me. So I have made this. I had always wanted to learn cables. Cables were elusive, so I mastered colour work back in the autumn, and did my cowl. And so the next nemesis for me was to do cables. And then Wendy Poole released a pattern for this headband that she had designed to teach her daughter Sammy how to do cables. So I thought, right, that's my opportunity. I'm going to do that. I always in need of headwear for the beach, keep my ears warm, walk the dogs on a daily basis, normally at a beach or certainly in a windswept moorland area. So it's always in need right the way through, sometimes till May. So yeah, I've knitted this on Stylecraft Chunky. I just stash dived for this because it was in need of chunky. I knew I had some, and rather than buy new, I just went shopping in my stash. So it's really simple. If you don't know how to do cables or you need a refresher, this is a perfect kind of thing. So it's knitted straight and you then seam it here. So you seam it on the edge. So it's a straight piece of knitting done as a cable, single twist. And I love it. So it's garter, cable garter. So it's knits really quickly because it's in chunky. It knitted up really quickly. I think it took me 4 days of doing it around the family, so not long at all. And it's been worn and worn and worn. I made a little mistake here, as you can see. I go out and in again because I was slightly wrong, but you can't see it when it's around the back of my head. And it was at the end, and I was not going to undo it. It had taken, you can see how close to the end I was. Here's the end, and I was coming up here. So I was not going to root it back again. I have worn it, as I say, quite a lot. I love it. It's really warm. And yes, so it's by Wendy Poole Designs. We're very fortunate. She lives not far from here and attends the Friday Knit and Natter group that I belong to on a Wednesday. So, and she also taught me how to do my socks, which more about to none. But yeah, I really like it. So I'm really pleased with that. So 2 finished objects in one podcast. Whoop, whoop, that won't be the future. Trust me, not when you see the whips. So yeah, I hope everyone had a lovely start to the year. It's been, as I say, quite busy here. We've had lots of things going on in the background, so but lots of time for knitting, as you can see. So and winter is my favourite month. I love it. Most people hate it. I love it. I love nothing more than a cold, crisp day to go on a walk and then come back and snuggle up in a cosy house. So yeah, Cornwall in the winter is much quieter, obviously not tourist filled. Not that we object to tourists in any way, but it's nice to be able to get around to our locality and have empty beaches when you have So Janice, the ginger dog, is more of a reactive dog. So it's nice to be able to take her without hordes and hordes of other dogs on the beach. I'll pop some footage in at the end of some local beach walks or some Cornish beach walks. I tend to say local, they could be 40 minutes away, but they're local to us. So I'll pop some in of that because it just may interest you. So on to whips. So as I mentioned in Vlogmas, I was getting a mini skein a day for my advent calendar that I had made myself with the intention of making a sweet shop blanket. My very firm intention is that this blanket is going to be a year-long project. I never expected to be able to do it during Advent. It was just too much. And I had, I've forgotten a finished object. I'll come back to that. Yeah, so I never thought that I would do it during Advent because I was still finishing my friend's blanket, which I'll come back to. But this is the progress so far. So I've done 4 squares, so January and February. My plan is to do 2 a month and see how I go. So I've not started Marches yet because I was too busy doing my next whip, but I need to do those. So my plan is to try and do another couple. So this is my bag of minis. So this one is proven to be a bit of a nemesis, but I mean, look at these. These are all Lay family yarns. That one is just glorious. I love it. And then this one, again, just beautiful. And then, you know, these two combined by each other, just, the possibilities. And then this one I found in my stash. So it's not an Advent one, but I'm just going to love using it. And it's a Perrin Yarns one. I must have bought it, I think, last year at Wonderwall. I say, it may have been at Yarndale. But yes, and it's a gold sparkle 4-ply mini. So these are all 4-ply and being held double in the coloured section. So all of these are held double 4-ply. And then I've just got some baby DK big value for the colour. It was the softest one I could find when I was at the knitting store. So that's going to be throughout. I love it. I love how it's turning out. I just do. I think it's amazing. Laura is one of my favourite designers. I'm waiting with bated breath for the Midland cardigan to come out. That's going to be very, very firmly on my to-do list when she publishes that, especially as her version is in pink, and I love pink. So it just sings to me. So yeah, I love that. Back to my finished object. How can I forget? So I will pop a picture here, up here, of the finished blanket. So I was working on, I don't know if you remember, if you're a returning viewer, I was working on a crocheted blanket that had been based on partly on the honey milk throw and partly on my own design. So I was doing a set of squares, granny squares type setup, big 9-inch squares, to make one big blanket, and it was a Christmas present from my friend. I took it to the wire, I have to be honest. So it was finally finished on the 23rd, yes, 23rd of December and wrapped. So I had previously on the 20th or 21st, I'd gone to knitting as normal and was just in the process of stitching crocheting all the sides together. I had crocheted 2 of the very long sides together and went to the 3rd, and because it's knit and natter, there was quite a lot of nattering going on. I proceeded to look at finished crocheted together side, and I had crocheted it the wrong way round. So I had to proceed to uncrochet the whole side, and had crocheted them together in the wrong order. So the whole lot of that had to be redone, which pushed me back. It would have been done 21st, probably, maybe 22nd, but it was relentless, and no one could come near me on the 23rd until I finished it. Luckily it was done. I made it in cotton, never again. So there are many things that are never again as a result of this blanket. I will never make a blanket in cotton again. I just don't like working with it. I've made 3 now, 2 baby blankets and now an adult blanket in cotton, and I just don't learn my lesson. I don't like working with it. It doesn't seem to, this one didn't split. So previously I've had problems where the cotton has split as I'm crocheting. This one didn't. So a friend of mine, Jen, told me it was potentially to do with how I hold my hook. So if it's a sideways or slightly off-centered hook and it's splitting, go to a centered crochet hook. If it's the other way round, do the other way round. And this one didn't seem, I was using a Clover 4mm hook, and so it didn't split. So that was fine, but I just didn't like working with it. The drape, the oversizing, it's just not my yarn of choice. So I won't do that again. I also will never, ever do a blanket with such a tight deadline for Christmas. Yeah, it was too much. I was putting pressure on myself, and yeah, it wasn't fun for myself or the people around me, it would seem. So yeah, I was getting really worked up about the fact that it wouldn't be finished for Christmas, and it was her main present, and just lots and lots of worry. Anyway, as I say, it turned out really well. She was really pleased when she opened it on Christmas Day. I got a beautiful message. So all's well that ends well. But yes, it was in 100% cotton. James C. Brett, 100% cotton. And it's not that there's anything wrong with the yarn. I think it's just a personal preference that I just don't like working with cotton. And I much prefer sort of wool or acrylic rather than cotton. Yeah, and so yeah, so I'm doing a blanket, but it's for myself. The Sweet Shop blanket will be for us, not for a deadline or a present, and I doubt very much if I will do a blanket for anyone as a gift going forwards. I've done them before, but as I say, they always end up quite stressful projects. Yeah. So onto my big whip. So this is a big whip. Matt's socks continue to be in hibernation, and although it's his birthday in a week and a half, and my firm intention was to finish them for his birthday, I'm not going to do it. They are just... Monty pulled them all off. So Monty is my youngest son. He pulled them all off the needles during the German short row heel. I'm not sure how to get them back on. I need to take them to knitting so my friend can look at them and work them out and put them back on. The earliest I can do that is tomorrow. His birthday's next Saturday. So I probably could finish it. But we're going to the East Anglian Yarn Festival this weekend. My mum, myself, my sister. So we're going to the Yarn Festival, and I cannot wait. So obviously I've done Wonderwool, I've done Yarndale, I've done smaller ones, but we've not been to the East Anglian one yet. I have a fond memories of going to Norfolk. We took Ethan, who's the eldest son, to Norfolk when he was 18 months old, and as a 18-month-old toddler at the beginning of April, he wandered straight into the cold North Sea. Probably sat down and was splashing around. Matt had to go and recover him. But I have really fond memories of that trip. It was the last time I spent any prolonged time in Norfolk, and so it's kind of tugging at my heartstrings a little bit. I love it. I love the scenery. I know that people say, oh, it's flat, but I love it. Norfolk, it just seems a little bit... In my head, it's quite like Cornwall. It's quite chilled out. It's creative. It's just a lovely place. And so anyway, so it holds lots of lovely memories. And so we're off there on Friday. We're doing a weekend of it. We've got an Airbnb. So we will travel up from Cornwall. It's a long drive. It's going to take me about 6.5 hours to drive from Cornwall to Norfolk. So we're going to leave really early, and we're going to nip in and do some of the coast, because Mum's not seen the coast of there for, I don't think ever, but certainly not for a long time. So I'm going to take her to go and see if we can spot any seals at Blakeney Point, and then drop down to our accommodation. And then Saturday, all of us are off to the yarn show. I cannot wait. Hopefully to see Paula from Stitch by Mrs. D, Castle View Yarns. I have a huge shopping list that I really don't need. Some of it I do, some of it I don't. But my plan is to just go and have a whale of a time. The long-term plan was that this would replace Wonderwall. However, my local friend down here, Jen, has announced that she's doing a Wonderwall trip up and back in a day from Cornwall, which will be a long day. But would I like to ride shotgun with her? And I have to admit, the temptation is there. I really don't need another yarn show, but is there any such thing as too many yarn shows? I'm not sure. I don't think so. They're a hobby in themselves, surely. Anyway, onto my whip. So, I really, really want to make myself a garment to wear. And I really, really want to make a colour work garment to wear. So I have bought and downloaded a couple of Jennifer Steingas patterns, and then I've also downloaded this. I'll show you because it's a paid for pattern, I think. I'm not sure, this one might be a free pattern actually. This pattern. So this is the Night Bloom Sweater by Eastburst Trickle. And so it, I just love the pattern. I love the simplicity of it. Obviously but it's knitted in the round. And so I've never knitted a garment in the round. So it's got so many new features for me to learn in this one garment. It's either going to be a huge success or catastrophic. There's not going to be anything in the middle. So I decided that I was going to knit it in from my stash, because I have quite a lot of stuff. Don't we all? And I had this in my stash sat there. So, and I love this. I just love the colour. Slightly flecked. It is acrylic, but it was sat in my stash. I had sweater quantities of this in my stash, and so I thought, right, I'll do that as the base colour. What could I use for the contrast colour? And went stash diving again. So this I purchased in Dunoon in Scotland when we were on holiday last year, and this was bought at Jinty and Bar in Dunoon. If you are ever on holiday in Scotland on the Cowell Peninsula, it is a spectacular knitting shop. She is so lovely, the lady that owns it. We've been a couple of times. In fact, we go every time we visit. We stay in the same lodge just up the road, and she's magnificent. She's just such a lovely, lovely lady, and she she spoke to Monty really well. She's got huge recommendations. She's got sewing in there as well as knitting and crochet yarns. Just, it's a treasure trove. It's lovely. So if you are ever in that area in Scotland, pay a visit. It's really good. And I wasn't sure what to use for the contrasting colour. And then about 5 years ago, it was definitely pre-COVID. We were on holiday in Northumberland. Oh, maybe it wasn't pre-COVID. It must have been COVID. Anyway, between 3 and 5 years ago, we were on holiday with my sister in Northumberland, and we went looking for some yarn shops, and I stumbled upon, I can't remember the name of the shop. It was in a village on the edge between Morpeth and Alnwick. On that stretch of the A1, it was just off, but it was beautiful. And I purchased 2 skeins of this and didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I just loved the colour. So it's Dovestone DK, it's Bahram U, and it's really lovely. It doesn't smell sheepy. although I like it when it does. It's really nice, but I thought the contrast was really good. And I was given a tip by someone at my knitting group on the Wednesday, who said, if you're looking to see whether the contrast will work, take a photograph of the two yarns next to each other in black and white, and the contrast will show you if it will be a suitable contrast for colour work or not. And actually, I thought these weren't going to work, and when next to each other on the black and white, it was a huge difference. So it worked. I think it's going to work really well. And then I've looked at other people's colour work sweaters, not necessarily this one, and have seen a couple of people use sort of a burgundy and a pink. And they've worked really well. So I'm hoping that together they'll be really good. So I've cast on. Let's see where I am. So forgive me. I've cast on the neck. So it's a roll neck, no rib. And then so I've done this much so far. So a long way to go. An awfully long way to go. Which I'm anticipating this is going to take me months and months. It's not going to be a quick project. You know, I'm on to 300 and something stitches each round now. And so it's not going to be, and when you're less than petite, when you're a bigger girl, obviously the jumper needs to be bigger. And so therefore I'm not knitting this, I'm knitting this. So it will take longer. So I've got the blanket to go alongside it so that I don't suffer fatigue of the same outfit, the same knitting project. And yeah, I'm loving how it's knitting up. So it's coming out really well. I love the pattern on it and stuff. It looks like there's mistakes on the screen, but when I hold it to myself, you can't see. I think these are my increases, which I think will block out once I block it. There's small flecks of yellow in there. I'm not sure if you can see, that just appear from nowhere really, but I absolutely love it. And my mum has purchased some of the Highland Heathers as well, but in a different colourway, to do a Whitmore jumper, I think she's going to do. But she's bought the lilac. So we'll see how they knit up. But I'm really, really loving doing it at the moment. And at the moment, I'm just on stocking rounds. So it's easy to pick up and put down. That's going to be less easy, obviously, as I hit the colour work. I'm not far off the colour work now. So, but I'll have to work out. And then I don't have a clue how I split for the sleeves. But that's what my knit and natter group are going to help with. So I'm hoping that you can come with me and see how successful it is. Yeah, so I'm really pleased with that. So those are my two whips, and then obviously the socks, which are in hibernation, which we don't talk about. On to acquisitions. So for Christmas from Matt, I got given a new sewing machine for work, and we're in the process of building a studio in the back garden for me to work in, and we're nearly there. Yes. So I've had the electrics are in, all finished. Final fix was last week. Just the insulation of the roof to go, and then I can move in with sewing machine, which has still not come out of its box because I want to put it in situ. But I'm champing at the bit, as you can imagine. But the other acquisition I had at Christmas was this beautiful book. So I first saw these books at Yarndale last year, and just totally and utterly fell in love with them. So this particular one is about the Cowal Peninsula, which is what I was talking about, where this part of Scotland where the wool was purchased. We know it very well. We frequently visit there, and it's just, other than Cornwall, it's where I feel at home. The Isle of Bute particularly has a huge pull for me. I don't know, I can't explain the feelings, but I just love it. Anyway, this book is about there. And my dad purchased this for me. We decided about 5-6 years ago to do Yola Boka Flood, which is the Icelandic tradition of giving a book on Christmas Eve, and then everyone sitting around with hot chocolate and reading for the afternoon, which is what we do. So, and then my dad purchased this one for me. And if I show you some of the So it's got lots and lots of history of the area and beautiful photographs of the area in it at the front. And then it's got knitting patterns inspired by the area. So, I mean, this is just absolutely gorgeous. And then there's a beautiful cowl, which I just love. Not that I need any more scarves or cowls, but, and then this beautiful cardigan, hats, tank tops and berets, and then there's some men's ones in as well. There's a scarf, there's a hat and jumper combination that are just gorgeous. And then I love this one. This has a male and a female version in. So lovely. Some really nice socks. Lots of colour work as you would expect. And then this I just think is just stunning. And there's a blue version as well in here, which she's got. So I love it. And I sit here just gazing at it, and it takes me back to the beautiful locations. And yeah, am I at a position yet that I can make any of these as a knitter? Probably not. Do I think there might come a chance where I can? Yeah, I do. I just love them, and I'm just setting my sights high on maybe making some of them in the future. But especially this cardigan. I do love that cardigan with this one. And I love the fact that she's done it in blue there as well. Anyway, yes, so that's that. Yeah, I'm not sure anything else to say in terms of updating you. So that was my acquisition. No yarn acquired, I'm quite pleased to say, or quite proud to say. However, that's going to be a totally different story in the next podcast after I've been to East Anglian Yarn Festival. Yeah, I've been given access to record at the festival as a podcaster, so I shall have a podcaster lanyard on. If anyone watches this prior to Friday, Saturday, and wants to come and say hi, then come and feel free. Come and say hi. Yeah, I'm hoping to join in the podcasters section in the afternoon, even just to dip in and out again, just to pick up some tips. I know that this is not a good, polished, beautiful podcast like lots of people's are, but it's just me and how I am, so I'm hoping that it's met accordingly. Anyway, yeah, I will be back to show you all of my purchases and update you and on. I'll pop the pictures in here of the beach and hope that you like them. Okay, until next time, bye.